The ship rocks gently as we enter the orbit of Helmaris, a distant planet whose exotic landscapes appear before our eyes. At first glance, it seems like a paradise, with vast green fields and huge chains of golden mountains reflecting the light of the distant sun. But I know that behind its beauty, something darker awaits us. The feeling in the air is heavy, filled with tension. As we descend, the view of the surface becomes clearer. The cities, once prosperous, are in ruins. Some still maintain a solid structure, but decay is evident. Alien creatures, a warrior, imposing and savage race, patrol the streets. Their skin is a metallic tone, reflecting the light in an unsettling way. They are everywhere. In silence, they watch the visitors of their world with piercing eyes and distrust. We are in hostile territory, and they know it, I say, as I assess the situation. It seems like we are arriving at a place where the battle will not only be physical, but also spiritual. The Helmarians, humans who settled here generations ago, are under the rule of this warrior race who blindly believe in a mysterious entity, a force that, according to them, is the key to their survival. What was once a prosperous colony has now turned into a land of religious fervor, where beliefs are so deeply rooted that the Helmarians, although aware of the threat from the Obsidian Horde, resist any external help. As we approach the main city, a huge metallic structure rises on the horizon. Inside it, churches and temples dedicated to this entity occupy every corner. The streets are marked with religious symbols, and the inhabitants, with their empty and fixed stares, seem more devoted to their faith than to the fight for survival. It is clear to me that the real battle on Helmaris will not be fought with weapons. It will be a battle of faith. On one side, the unwavering beliefs of the Helmarians. On the other, the tangible and destructive threat of the Obsidian Horde. And between them, Nolak and his team, trying to convince a population blinded by faith that their survival depends on an alliance with the Galactic Federation. It seems that our greatest mission here will not be to defeat an invading army, but to break the spiritual chains that bind them. We need to act quickly, I murmur, aware that we are in a minefield, where any wrong move could further fuel the resistance of a people who are lost in their beliefs. As the ship touches the surface of Helmaris, I know we have little time. The invasion of the Obsidian Horde will not wait. And if we don't form an alliance with the Helmarians, we will lose this war before it even begins. We reach the central square of the city, where the Helmarians gather for a large ceremony. The scene is imposing, with large stone temples and religious symbols dominating the horizon. The air is dense, filled with a spiritual fervor that seems to emanate from the very ground. Every step we take is accompanied by suspicious and silent stares, and it is clear that our presence here is not welcome. Soon we find ourselves before the leaders of the colony, a religious hierarchy formed by priests and elders, all with their eyes fixed on us. There is no welcome, no signs of curiosity. They watch us with a mixture of distrust and fear, as if our presence were a direct threat to what they believe to be divine truth. Who are you to come here, bringing words of war and destruction? Asks one of the leaders, his voice deep and authoritative. We, Helmarians, are faithful to our faith, The battle against the Obsidian Horde is not a physical fight. It is a spiritual fight. The religious leader raises his hand, pointing to the skies as if invoking an invisible entity. The Obsidian Horde are just the manifestation of a greater battle, something we do not fully understand. They are proof of our belief, and we must face them according to our own war, not with the help of external forces. We do not need aliens to save us. The resistance is palpable, and frustration begins to take over me. I try to find a way to explain that our struggle is not just a matter of survival, but something greater, something that involves the entire universe. But they are closed off in their beliefs. I understand what you're saying, I respond, trying to remain calm. But what is at stake here is not just a spiritual fight. The threat of the Obsidian Horde is real. And if we do not act now, everything you believe will be destroyed. Not just in Helmaris, but throughout the entire universe. They are not here to test your faith. They are here to destroy everything. They don't want to listen. The religious leader looks at me, his eyes challenging and cold. You speak of war, he says, his voice laced with disdain. But what is truly at stake here is this spiritual balance. The Obsidian Horde are not our enemies. They are merely the manifestation of what we do not understand. We must fight our war, not yours. I hear his words and know that what we are facing here is more complex than simply a military invasion. We are facing a philosophical battle where deep-rooted beliefs and convictions clash with the reality of an existential threat. Convincing these Helmarians to abandon their religious certainties in favor of a universal struggle will be more difficult than any physical battle I have ever faced. But I also know that if we do not break this barrier, the entire galaxy will be lost. They need to understand that the war against the Obsidian Horde is not a matter of faith. It is a matter of survival. And, more importantly, it is a fight for the preservation of all lives, for the preservation of the universal balance that transcends any religion or belief. I understand that your beliefs are deep, I say, trying to soften my words, but the truth is that if we do not act now, there will be nothing left to believe in. No faith, no religion, no colonies, nothing. We need to work together, or everything you hold dear will be lost. The leader seems to ponder my words, but distrust is still evident. I know it will not be easy, but time is short. The battle does not wait, and we need them, not just as military allies, but as an essential part of this war. Now, more than ever, I am convinced that this mission will require more than our forces. It will be a fight for faith and survival. And the future of Helmaris and the galaxy depends on our ability to make these two worlds, the spiritual and the physical, coexist. After my conversation with the religious leaders, I realize that to earn their trust, I need to understand more about their spirituality and respect their beliefs. We cannot simply ignore the weight their faith carries, especially when that faith is tied to the survival of the entire planet. With this in mind, I seek a new approach. I am not here to impose a physical war against the Obsidian Horde, but rather to show that this battle can also be spiritual. The Galactic resistance can be seen as a fight for freedom, something that, I believe, resonates with their faith. I understand that for you, this is a spiritual battle, I say, looking at the religious leader with respect. But sometimes, faith leads us to face challenges beyond what we can see. Together, we can fight for the freedom of our souls and our worlds. They watch me in silence, and I feel that, finally, I am touching something within them. The fight against the Obsidian Horde is not just a physical war. It is a testament of faith. And if we can unite science, religion, and the desire to preserve freedom, we can defeat the true threat that is coming. The alliance now does not seem as distant as it did before. After the alliance is forged, the Helmarianos, now with their religious leaders at the forefront, begin preparing for the impending battle. They are warriors, but their strength comes from something deeper than mere skill with weapons. It is their faith that sustains them. Meanwhile, I am leading the training of the local troops, passing on my knowledge and strategies, but also recognizing that my mission is not just military. Now, I feel like I am helping preserve something much greater, the soul and spiritual integrity of this colony. The tension is palpable. The arrival of the Obsidian Horde is inevitable. And we all know that the battle ahead will not just be physical. It will also be a fight for faith, for the spiritual survival of the Helmarianos. As we train together, I begin to realize how our struggle goes beyond just defeating an invasion. It is about keeping alive what the Helmarianos value most: their beliefs, their culture, their way of life. Amid the training, I look at the determined faces of the Helmariano warriors and say, the battle will be fierce, but it is our faith that will guide us. United, we can face any invader. Whether physical or spiritual, the unity between us grows each day. Now, more than ever, I know we are ready to face any challenge together. The invasion of the Obsidian Horde is brutal and relentless. They attack the colony with overwhelming force, breaking through the initial defenses and pressing on all points. The streets of Helmaris transform into a chaotic battlefield, while the trenches around the colony become the last bastions of resistance. I and the Helmarianos fight side by side, facing enormous waves of enemies. The battle is harder than any of us imagined. But with each advance of the Obsidian Horde, I see a spark of determination in the eyes of the Helmarianos. They begin to realize that Nolak's military strategy, the incorporation of combat tactics we taught, is truly turning the tide. The warriors of Helmaris are adapting, using their spiritual beliefs to fuel their courage. They are not just fighting for survival. They are fighting for the freedom of their land, for the preservation of everything they love. The streets echo with battle cries, the sounds of explosions, and the roar of alien creatures. But in the midst of war, I realize that the real battle is about to be revealed. Something is hidden deep within the planet, something that could turn the tide of the war in our favor. With the strength of the Helmarianos by my side, I shout to everyone, it's not just our survival that's at stake. It's our freedom. Fight, because the future of all of us depends on this. But as the forces of Helmaris and Nolak bravely resist, something new emerges from the shadows. During the battle, as the thunder of explosions and the cries of battle echo around us, something unexpected happens. Some members of the resistance and I managed to find something that is not on the maps. Something the Helmarianos themselves had lost sight of. An ancient temple, hidden deep within the colony. It was a forgotten place, shrouded in local legends and myths, where it was said the key to defeating the Obsidian Horde was kept. The temple, with its walls carved with mystical symbols and the ruins of an ancient civilization, seemed to be waiting for this moment. Inside, we find ancient technology, something that blended the spiritual with the physical, a weapon not only of destruction, but of profound weakening of the Obsidian Horde. The power that resided there was not of purely military origin, but a force that transcended the limits of science. It was a spiritual weapon, capable of affecting the cosmic energies that sustained the invaders. The discovery of this technology changed the course of the battle. The Helmariano religious leader, amazed, approaches the artifact and says with reverence, "This temple, it gave us the power to fight with something more than just our strength. The key to true victory was here, all along." With this revelation, the fight for the freedom of Helmaris is no longer just about resisting, but a divine mission. Now, the battle has taken on a new dimension. The fight against the Obsidian Horde will not only be physical, but spiritual. Hope has been reborn, and with it, the certainty that, together, we can face even the impossible. The battle was immense, fierce. When we finally managed to repel the Obsidian Horde and save Helmaris, the silence that followed was heavy. We won, but the cost was enormous. Many of the Helmarianos fell, their bodies now resting beneath the stars they fought so hard to protect. The colony still stands, but the land is stained with the blood of its children. Victory, though sweet, does not come without weight. They resisted, not only against the invaders, but against what seemed to be a force beyond their comprehension. Their faith, tested in such an extreme way, proved to be an invaluable weapon. But at the same time, every life lost reminds us of the cost of our struggle. The temple revealed the spiritual power we needed, but no one told us that victory would demand so much from us. Now, with the battle won, the Helmarianos have a new objective: to protect their faith and way of life. They are more united than ever, but also more aware that peace is not something that comes without sacrifice. They know that the spiritual and physical fight is far from over, but at least now, they have something greater to defend than just their lives. As I look at the horizon, my thoughts are clear. Every victory has its price. But this was more than a battle. It was a rebirth. The true challenge is still to come, and what awaits us is even more uncertain. But one thing is certain: we now know what we are capable of when we unite, and what we are willing to sacrifice to protect what we love. In the next episode, after the victory in Helmaris, I receive the news that the Obsidian Horde is preparing the final attack on Etherian. The war is about to enter its decisive phase, and I know that if we fail, everything we've gained will be lost. Etherian, the last battle will be there. If we don't stop them, everything will be lost. Prepare yourself.